In this recording, I'm going to talk over how I create a visual abstract. So starting here in PowerPoint, you create a new blank presentation. You clear out the slide to create your new base for your visual abstract. I start by creating a background. I use a gray box usually in the background to frame my visual abstract. And you can use either a plain box like I just drew, or you can use a box with rounded corners like this. The way you adjust the rounded corners is a small yellow box in the top corner. You can then change the color to something lighter for a good background color. I then like to map out, using text boxes, the basic elements of my visual abstract. These include the title that I usually make in at least 2 times to 3 times the font size of everything else, and then add in various other elements like the optional sort of series title that you can put at the top, which is in a smaller font. And then you put in elements like a subtitle, conclusion, and then the meat and bones of your content. I usually don't put a box behind the title, but you can then start using boxes behind, like I've just drawn, the subtitle and conclusion to help break up the rest of your visual abstract. Subtitle goes here. A general good rule of thumb is to use only 2 to 3 font sizes in your visual abstract, one being title, and then content, including subtitle and conclusion, is usually the same font size, just to decrease the noise. In the bottom, I usually put some of the information like the author and editors. If you're going to share it on social media, it is prudent to include their Twitter handles as well. In the bottom, on another bottom corner, it is helpful to put the article information, including the DOI, and then also a QR code if you're interested. I also put the VA creation date just to help date the information. Then I use boxes to roughly plan out the content that I'm going to use. Again, you can use the yellow box in the top left corner to adjust the roundedness of the corners, and you can draw several of these. I use then a sort of title box within these content boxes that's a slightly darker color. You can choose your color scheme later on. I usually just pick something out of the pre-selected colors just to get started. I then often just copy paste once I've made one of these boxes to create the other boxes and then resize them. Another option that you have for customizing your visual abstract is changing the dimensions other than what the preset slide dimensions are. And this often works better for social media instead of this sort of default horizontal view. And the way that you do this is that you go to the page setup and you can change the width and height there. I often pick the option that says don't scale because it won't change the elements that you already have on your page. And then you can just drag to readjust to fit your content on the new smaller or more square layout. I've created some of the boxes that I want to use for this visual abstract. I go back and forth to the paper. And one of the things that I like to do is use the abstract to really guide what I put in my visual abstract. I'll truly copy and paste the content that is in the actual abstract to kind of map out how many sentences or items that I want to put in each section. So here I'm just kind of copy pasting from methods, results, and then I edit and add in graphics later. After I create my boxes, I like to just play around with the content and see what looks best, often on paper, which is what I did this time, before returning to the visual abstract on the computer. And what you can see here is a close to final version of this visual abstract. It has the same major boxes, but what I've added in is more detail to add organization to the specific sections. For example, in this methods section, I split out this case cohort model by showing sort of the recruitment methods on the left and then what the cases and controls ended up being for this study. These arrows are simply drawn within PowerPoint, and you just go to the shapes thing right up here and then do an arrow. Similarly, these lines are created via the shapes feature. You just do a straight line. To create something strictly horizontal, you hold down the shift key while you draw the line, and that will keep it directly at 0 degrees. And then these are all just discrete individual text boxes that can really give you a lot of freedom when creating this visual abstract. Over here on the results, this is essentially just a table that I built using individual text boxes, they will snap to a grid using this PowerPoint feature, which can be really helpful to maintaining alignment. And just split up the results again with another horizontal box by the different cohorts that they analyzed with, and then used red sparingly to highlight the significant results. One final feature that I didn't use in this visual abstract but is good to be familiar with are the icons that are included within PowerPoint. By clicking this toolbar up here, you can automatically load the icons that PowerPoint gives you. You can search things, for example, like if I wanted to illustrate something for hospital-acquired C. diff, I could use one of these icons. And then you simply click on the icon, say Insert, and then you can drag it to wherever you want on your visual abstract. This is the conclusion of this tutorial on how to create a visual abstract. I hope it was helpful.